Taking a look at what the Republican side of the midterm elections, all the different campaigning or the lack thereof that's been going on over there, and I've called them out appropriately, at least in my opinion. But taking a look at the Democrat side, well, like, it's a trash fire to begin with. So what was even the point of calling them out? And then I seen that Biden was snapping at people, so it's like, oh great, old man had an Alzheimer's fit, and then don't worry, everybody will just say, oh no, don't worry about it, he was just getting pressured, no, he didn't have his oatmeal done on time. Like, it's wild what is going on over there in that dumpster fire, and the fact that they're trying to obfuscate from all of this failure. But hey man, that's what happens with party politics, I guess. Count, kid, count. Biden snaps at reporter for suggesting he hasn't campaigned with many Democrats. He really hasn't. Like, he's been out to Pennsylvania a couple of times, and this is where he was at again, once again, with a very small-headed, very small-minded John Fetterman out there. And I don't know if they get into this statement, but I also seen that, yeah, when Biden was out there campaigning with Fetterman, said that his wife was going to be a great lady in the Senate. So it's like, okay, cool. Are we just, like, dropping all the pretense that this isn't FDR 2.0? Like, holy, that guy's just a fucking walking corpse. He's looking more and more like Lurch as the days go on, and it's going to be his wife pulling the strings. Christ, we already have that in the president's office. We already have that in the Oval Office, as it were, and really want that shit going on in the Senate. Nobody's going to fucking vote for you. But I've been warning against going too hard on Fetterman. You should be popping up, or you should be propping up his opposition there. You know, Dr. Oz, he's known by a lot of fat housewives that are out there in Pennsylvania. Like, you should also be, you know, pushing him along at the same time instead of just consistently attacking him, okay? But that's just from the right-wing commentary community, because they're just all headstrong at taking shots at Fetterman. We've seen how shit like this ends up playing out on the other side, because remember in 2016 how all of the talk was how bad Trump was, and then at the same time not propping up Hillary Clinton, just thinking that tearing somebody down would automatically just foist somebody in there. But then at the same time, because the name is in the media at all times, John Fetterman, John Fetterman, John Fetterman, okay? It doesn't matter the fact that, yeah, his brain's a little bit fucking pudding up there and it's leaking down his fucking ears. You don't put the other name that's out there. Hey man, when people go into the fucking ballot box, okay, and then they start running down their different options, they're gonna vote for the name that they recognize, okay? So that's why in some point in time, like, even though he's dispelled it right now, if The Rock wants to run for president, The Rock will become president, and God forbid we ever live to see that fucking day. But anyways, let's get into what old Uncle Joe fucking decided to do when he was snapping. Anyways, Joe Biden took a rare stop to speak with reporters before departing for the White House Thursday. Let's stop the cap. He probably stopped by the White House to pick up some stuff so he could head off to Delaware, where he spent a quarter of his presidency. A quarter of his presidency. We are halfway through his term, and the motherfucker can barely stay at the White House to do his goddamn job. And then you also take a look at his calendar and how much shit he's been doing, the hours that he works. Hey man, if you appreciate a nearly 80-year-old man working from the bright and early hours of about noon until about the late hours of 4 in the afternoon, 3 or 4 times a week, he's definitely the president for you. Oh my God, I'm so glad all the adults are back in the room. But back to this, instead of answering questions from the reporters, the president berated journalists asking about his campaign stops and abortion restrictions. This is such a fucking stupid way to go about these things, okay? If you're going to be campaigning on abortions, it'll work in certain cities, but if you're going to make this entire election cycle a referendum on abortion, oh, buddy, that shit ain't going to fucking work out for you, especially in Arizona, where it looks pretty impactful and fairly important. There are quite a few important elections going on there, and in Georgia as well. Like, if you want to turn all of that shit into an abortion referendum, shit ain't gonna work out that well for you. Not like it was before all of that stuff. It's just they continue to self-immolate. But regardless, what's that? Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Don't interrupt your opponents when they're making a mistake. Hey man, continue. You guys, you do you. I'll just be over here laughing. Biden, who is leaving for events in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with a Democratic Senate candidate and his wife, John Fetterman, jogged over to a line of reporters. Oh, good. Hey, look at it. I know I'm 78 and I continue to fall over the place. I'll just come over and meet you guys, show how spry and young I am. Gathered for his departure and yelled over the sounds of Marine One, that's the helicopter, while delivering staccato answers to reporters. Yeah, because asking him to string along a sentence uninterrupted is a bit of a task for the old man. He's, if Fetterman's gone between the ears, Joe Biden's definitely his role model. Fetterman's gonna appear with you today in Pennsylvania, but there haven't been many candidates campaigning with you. Yeah, that's another thing, because he's been pushing the Fetterman thing very, very hard. And I understand, like, that's a place where you could theoretically win if everything's all on the up and up. Like, it's a weak candidate opposing him. It's a place that has a Democratic governor. It's a state that you took back in 2020 from Trump. Like, I understand the enthusiasm out there, but there's other places where you could, fly the helicopter, the jet, it's all in taxpayer dollars, and it's not like you're against flying around, especially, on the average person's dime, I'm just saying. But this was a question asked by CBS News reporter Wei Jiang. Oh my God, Joe Biden, stop Asian hate. Stop it already. I thought you were supposed to stop it, not supposed to continue it. Biden cut her off and leaned forward, yelling over the sounds of Marine One to say, "That's not true. I've been 15. Oh my God. He insisted, "Count, kid, count." How old is Jiang? Christ almighty. She's probably in her 50s or something like that, but he was just trying to piggyback off of one of his previous sound bites where he was saying, she was 14, I was 30, so he was just saying, well, she was 15 and I was 50, so, hey, count, kid, count. When asked if he would campaign with more candidates ahead of the midterms on November 8th, Biden said, "Yeah, sure. I don't know. You'll have to check my calendar. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can barely keep my hair plugs on the top of my head." Biden then moved on to pro-life EWTN White House correspondent Owen Jensen, who asked if he supports restrictions on abortions at all. "No, of course. If you want to, I don't really care, man. You just do you." "Yes, there should be," Biden, a staunch Catholic, replied. "What should they be?" "I don't know. It's Roe v. Wade. Read it, man. You'll get educated." Okay, cool. Can you point to any legal precedent that made Roe v. Wade lawfully there? Or was it overturned because it was bad law? Don't even worry about it, Joe, because we know you don't have an answer to that. Biden is speaking about infrastructure in Pennsylvania on Thursday before a reception with Fetterman in Pennsylvania. Yeah. But he's not the only Democrat out there on the campaign trail stumping around for folks. You got AOC. She was met with another hostile crowd. Like, she's not that popular, okay? All of her endorsements, like, she was out there endorsing a whole bunch of radical candidates from way beforehand. And here's the fucking skinny on this stuff. All of her endorsements fell flat on her fucking face. Imagine that. If it would have fell backwards, like onto an ass, it would have been able to bounce back up because she does have that juicy Latina booty. Shout out Alex Stein. Drumming protesters crashed another town hall event hosted by far-left Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Wednesday night, with the squad member eventually bopping along with the rhythmic chants. Exactly. If you don't have criticism for them, hey man, just make a mockery out of it. It's not a terrible tactic, but again, if you're supposed to be, a lady of the people, why do you have protesters showing up at your events? At least there's people at this one. The last time you got cussed out at one of the rallies that you were holding, there was like a dozen people there. So I don't know, maybe you papered this one appropriately and they just brought in some of your glowy operatives. Not saying that this is a false flag, but that flag is red. You can see it from outer space. Videos of protesters in Queens showed demonstrators chanting, "AOC has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. AOC has got to go." That's why I think it's a false flag, because again, any of the banality when it comes to these chants, that's always from the other side, as it were. Okay, it's always that hey, hey, ho, ho, Trump has got to go, all of that fucking same old nonsense. And holding up signs denouncing the 33-year-old congresswoman while a man with a hand drum pounds out a beat. Is that like a microaggression or something? That was that. They had a big man there and he was banging a drum and it had a picture of my face. That means that he wants to kill me. A loud jeering and chanting left AOC with nothing better to do than show off her moves while she sat on the edge of a stage. Ain't that great? Ain't that funny? Okay, you don't have a response to any of that stuff. Like, all you do is just shut up. You don't want to, respond to any of that stuff. You don't want to lean on the podium, let them get it out of their system, and then have something catchy or quippy or interesting to say back to her. Because, again, let's just take it at face value, okay? Maybe this is a completely organic crashing, but take a look at how many white people are there, okay? The stereotypical guy in camo with the fucking hat, okay? You have the woman yelling, a dude with a drum, like, it seems like a little bit of a put on trying to drum up sympathy. Like, I don't even know who's running against her. Oh, okay, it's that lady. Okay, interesting as well. But this is another failing of the GOP, okay? Like, AOC, if you got her out of Congress, that would be a huge feather in your hat. And the state that New York is in right now, especially New York City, if you just come in with a slight law and order tint to you, like, it's highly possible. Like, Lee Zeldin just finally, I always thought that he did, but he just finally got the Trump endorsement. And you take a look at the polls, and I understand that it's all coming up, and it's coming to a head when November 8th, when the elections ultimately come down. Like, they're starting to close, like, a little bit too much, a little too close for comfort, and it's going to be the first time in quite a long time there's a strong possibility that a Republican could be governor in the Empire State. And you guys, okay, and again, like, AOC only got in there through the fact of apathy when it came to the primary in 2018 when she first came in. Like, you just put a candidate with some sort of name recognition, somebody with a little bit of charisma, somebody who holds the party line, especially the new influence of the Republican Party, you'd have an opportunity to take out one of the biggest sores that are in government, if that was your goal, okay? But you take a look at what the establishment Republicans and the establishment Democrats, we can lump them in at the same time because the uniparty is a real thing in this situation. They just want to make money, okay? They just want to be able to pin one person against another. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene, don't know who's running against her. She's going to be there. AOC is going to be there because, again, each side needs a boogeyman. Each side needs somebody to point at and laugh at and criticize and, never actually get to the meat of the issues out there. Just lob ad hominem attacks. Just need some easy scapegoat. At one point, the lawmaker appeared to spot a sign in the crowd reading, "Wake up, New York, vote for Tina Forte, fuck AOC." Oh my god. Very classy, thank you, sir. Ocasio-Cortez said in the sign referencing her Republican opponent, who Tina Forte, I've seen her out there before. I forgot what she got famous for. I think it was like a car video talking about whatever the current issue of the day was. That was way back in the cut, but she's just kind of a loud-mouthy Staten Island lady. Like, she's fine and all that stuff. But Congress material? Well, if AOC's Congress material, so is Tina Forte. Nothing against her, I'm just saying. You should probably expect a little bit better of your elected representatives, but we're kind of in this idiocracy timeline, so fuck it, burn it all down, I don't care. AOC later tried to reason with angry demonstrators, but she couldn't. And considering, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 in a crowd that's allegedly there just to see you talk of, a couple dozen, and you couldn't drown out 5 or 6, a handful of protesters? Come on, man. Something seems a little bit off about this. Respectfully, ma'am, you're saying, ask us why. Y'all have been talking for 20 minutes. Okay, we know why. We know why you're mad. AOC said, let's talk about it. Okay, cool. Let's talk about it. Now, did anybody talk about it? Or did you just sit on the stage, do a little goofy dance because you couldn't get your security detail to clean the people out? That's interesting. That's interesting. Her plea didn't work, and a female protester then began hurling obscene remarks at the congresswoman. This is so cap, okay? I've went from being like, kind of 50-50, maybe a toss-up that this was an AstroTurfed event, to this is totally an AstroTurfed event, because we know that she has armed security guards. The tallies are available. You can go check them out for yourself, okay? If anybody was actually being overtly disrespectful like that and not wanting to engage in a dialogue, because you could throw her off the game. Like, she's politically savvy, she's not smart. Those two things are completely different. She knows she knows the machinations of Washington DC. She has a fairly high social acumen, but when it comes to getting down to the actual issues, to articulating her points, she has the intellectual depth of a kiddie pool. There's nothing up there. You could expose her for that, and that would be even funnier than just coming through and just banging a fucking drum. As if things couldn't get any worse for the Democrat, the lights in the auditorium went out, and AOC had to be escorted off stage. When the lights came back on after about a minute, AOC joked, "I'm not allowed into this room," when the lights turned off. I don't know, is that supposed to be a joke? Anyways, Hecklers also interrupted an AOC town hall last week, accusing the congresswoman of voting to start a nuclear war with Russia because of her support for sending military aid to Ukraine. Yeah, that was right. Do they got a picture of that one right there? Or no, they just have like a little flip book of her dancing on stage because, you know, the drum beat was real good. She had good vibes about this situation. She felt like dancing. AOC is heavily favored to win a third term in the deep blue 14th congressional district, which she carried with 70% of the vote in 2020. Yeah, when there was actual momentum behind whoever she was facing. Or maybe that was probably during the primary. Some moderate candidate was up there and she was real close, okay? But given the state that New York is in and then the momentum surrounding, you know, the governor candidate, might have been able to leech off some support. And you know what? You got to start somewhere, okay? But if you're just going to let her do whatever the fuck she wants and never put anybody against her, you know, you get what you fucking deserve, GOP in New York. I don't know what else to tell you. You have every inroad in the world. Outside of maybe California, there has never been a bigger experiment. And then the results of this have borne out to be a utter catastrophe. And all you can do is just point to Democratic policies for the past decade and change and just go, you want more of that? Or what do you got to lose? What do you got to lose? But yeah, I guess that's what's going on when it comes to campaigning on the other side of the aisle. This whole, the build up to the midterm, I don't know about you guys, but I pay attention to the news all the time. I continue to scroll through different sites, pick out different articles. I'm just not seeing the buzz that's out there, okay? Maybe I'm blind to all this type of stuff, okay? Maybe Joe Biden's out there. He's campaigning around. He's saying 15 because, I don't know, maybe that's his favorite age of some small child with fucking the consistency of their hair is at peak when they're 15 years old. I don't know about that. He's a big fan of crashing quinceañeras and picking up dinner dates. Who fucking knows? But I don't see many elected high-powered Republicans out there. I see a bunch of Tulsi Gabbard. I'm an independent, but I continue to stump for Republicans. Kind of fucking weird. Trump holding different rallies for a bunch of other people, attracting tens of thousands of people to his events because Trump is still going to run, and it's going to be funny when he faces Mike Pence on the debate stage and completely dog walks him, and then the uncharismatic Mike Pence will just sit there or just stand there like a fucking bobblehead for Rex Banner, and it's like, yeah, okay, cool, just show you out for the cuck that you are. But he was making some statement and also alluding to a run in 2024, so we're going to be getting those announcements soon off the back of this midterm cycle, which is going to produce probably something exactly what we're going to be expecting, as long as everything is on the up and up, and we of course believe it will be. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.